the third planet from the Sun, the wet planet. We are on an expedition to investigate a confederation of strange life forms. From earlier observations, we know these creatures to live in a habitat so inhospitable to humans that even with protective suits, we can venture forth only for brief periods and only to the edge of the habitat. In order to do the prolonged observation needed to understand these alien things, we use an unoccupied exploratory probe equipped with an array of sensors and devices. Via the probe, we can view this other world, but because light from the nearest star penetrates this domain poorly, we must provide light. We are in constant contact with the probe and have complete control over its actions. While there are many alien creatures in this strange place, with its dense liquid atmosphere, our focus now is on those with gelatinous and often transparent bodies. Though these aliens, the Jellies, have diverse origins, and though members vary widely in function and abilities, they have much in common. All are delicate and soft-bodied. All spend most of their lives out of contact with anything solid and have no fixed home site. All are suspended in the medium in which they live, their weights near neutral to the fluid around them. None emits sounds, though many can produce light, some in beautiful arrays. None of these life forms could possibly survive in our atmosphere. Without the support of the dense liquid in which they are immersed, they would collapse into unrecognizable blobs. Their tissues would rapidly dry, and they would die. The life form we see before us has no brain, no eyes, no heart, nor lungs, no tough protective covering. Yet it is a complete being, able to navigate, feed, defend itself, and reproduce. This creature propels itself by contracting its perimeter and expelling water from within its bell so that it glides gently along. Though it can neither make nor hear sound, can see nothing, and can think no thoughts, its type has been a successful voyager in its liquid world thousands of times longer than human beings have walked the land. When a potential predator nears, this thing with no central nervous system can react suddenly, dropping off its tentacles as decoy and swimming rapidly away. We encounter a chain of organisms fused together. This is one of many such colonies we have witnessed, some over 40 meters in length. Our video log has filled rapidly with their images. Though genetically identical, there are differences in form and function among the members of the colony. Many members are feeders, trailing a long tentacle, capturing food for the benefit of all. Swimmers at the front pulse rhythmically, pulling the chain along. The task of still other members is to reproduce. These armed colonies ply the fluid space, capturing and consuming smaller life forms. Their apparent fragility belies their role as a dominant predator in the depths. We have descended 600 meters into this liquid world. The pressure on our probe is almost 900 pounds per square inch. At a depth of 2,000 meters, the pressure would destroy our probe. Yet some delicate jellies exist unbothered at 3 times that force. For all its crystalline beauty, this creature is a killer, attacking and consuming other jellies by swallowing them whole. Our probe's lights are broken into shimmery rainbows by this creature. The iridescent lines are composed of rows of microscopic hairs which constantly beat back and forth, rowing the animal forward. Our expedition has encountered a wealth of these living jewels. It is difficult to determine the logic behind the shapes of this group of transparent forms. But nature does not engage in whimsy. Over the course of our exploration, we often encounter bizarre dwellings built by creatures distantly related to the human life form. The dwellings are double structures, with the supple tail of the being undulating within the ribbed inner sanctum. Far more fragile than Earth's most delicate spiderweb, these dwellings hang suspended, undisturbed, in the still, dark depths. A living spaceship in a fluid sky. Pulsing slowly through the vastness, hunting. It has no destination, no port of origin. For millions of years, its kind has silently cruised the depths. Devoid of thoughts, it swims on. The large jellies have an unceasing deliberateness to their pace. Like a duchess trailing her finery, this animal moves across the fluid stage with stately grace. These creatures, living near the surface of their fluid domain, attract an entourage of other creatures. The Jellies' escorts find protection in its soft folds, and the procession moves on. The voyage continues, exploring this strange world, seeking out new life. For we who gaze upon these elegant creations are forever affected. There is something about their uncalculated beauty, the hypnotic pulsing of their bodies, their mindless perseverance over the eons, which troubles our logic. We cannot fully understand them, for they are alien, and therein lies their fascination. During the many years that I was also Spock, I either befriended or battled aliens of one form or another. Today, it was my pleasure to introduce to you a group of aliens with two advantages over any we encountered. The first is that they are very, very real, and the second is that they live here on planet Earth, the wet planet. The spectacular gelatinous animals you've just seen are very much aliens. Their composition and their ways of moving, feeding, reproducing, and defending themselves are strange and different from us and the animals we normally encounter. And yet it could be argued that they, not we, best represent life on Earth. For they, not we, are significant members of the world's largest living space, the oceans. The sea is indeed a different world, every bit as interesting as one visited by the Starship Enterprise. While the sea has been studied for centuries, many of its wonders remain hidden beneath the waves. Only now, at the turn of the millennium, do we have the technology to dwell deep in the liquid world. Contributing both to this technology and to the exploration is the sister institution of the Monterey Bay Aquarium, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, or MBARI. MBARI owns and operates the Point Lobos, the support ship for its major research tool, the Ventana, a remotely operated vehicle, or ROV for short. The ROV is indeed a probe, an instrument for exploring the wet world. The ROV remains connected by cable to the support ship at all times. The cable sends down electricity to power the ROV and contains fiber optics for communication and for sending back video images. The pilot, sitting in the control room of the support ship, activates thrusters to maneuver the ROV. So precise are the controls, and so skilled are the pilots, that the ROV can move within inches of an animal and hover there for data collection and observations. The ROV is an underwater laboratory. As well as a video camera, it carries still cameras, computers, a variety of research tools, sensors, and analytic devices. With this array of equipment, scientists are no longer limited to taking samples back to their research labs for analysis. Complex modern research can now occur deep at sea. Dr. Bruce Robeson, a midwater biologist at MBARI.
The ROV has given us a wonderful new perspective from which to study the gelatinous animals that live in the deep sea. It allows us to make direct observations, almost as though we were there ourselves. Among the things we've learned is that gelatinous creatures make up a very large percentage of the oceanic community, a very much larger percentage than we ever could have guessed in the past. The ROV also aids us in a unique way by allowing us to collect animals in pristine condition, bring them back to the laboratory where we can maintain them for long periods of time, and then conduct studies on their respiration or their behavior or their feeding rates.
This jelly will be maintained in chilled seawater while it is being held for study. Some animals are taken to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, where they join others in a growing, living library of marine organisms. The aquarium staff are developing new methods to hold and breed the more robust jellies.
Here in our jelly culture facility at the aquarium, we're able to raise several different species of large jellies for display. We have in front of us Aurelia, the moon jelly, and we're looking at some juveniles and also a plate that has hundreds of polyps. Jellyfish start life in what's known as a sessile phase. They're actually attached to objects. Eventually, the polyps bud off tiny jellyfish known as ephyra. We're able to raise the ephyra to juvenile jellies like we see here, and eventually to adults. So the moon jellies start life in an asexual phase, where they're budding and dividing in a polyp stage. Eventually, as adults, they have a sexual phase where you have male and female moon jellies. And so the males will release sperm that is taken up by the female to fertilize the eggs, and the eggs are brooded by the female. Following this, they form microscopic larvae. The larvae then settle out and complete the life cycle with polyps.
While the aquarium has successfully raised several species of jellies, most are beyond our reach. Many are simply too delicate or too large, and most hold secret many of their requirements for survival. Many have been seen only through the electronic eye of the ROV and have yet even to be given scientific names. What the ROV has revealed has been tantalizing and fascinating. Scientists had long ago pulled nets behind ships and captured specimens of this walnut-sized jellyfish. They gave them a name, Colobonema, and examined their mangled bodies. But until researchers descended to the depths in ROVs and submersibles, nothing was known of their true beauty or their behavior. Until Dr. Robeson saw and filmed this animal being threatened by a fish, no one knew it would drop its tentacles and swim off, leaving the tentacles to distract the predator. And when he turned out the lights, he realized that the cast-off tentacles glowed, a living lure commanding attention. Light communicates in a dark world. These flashes come from jellies as they make contact with a screen placed in front of the submersible. Silent exclamations. Why and when jellies normally produce light is only speculated. Some perhaps use light to attract a mate. Others may produce light when a predator nears, thereby announcing the predator's presence to its predator. Predators come in all forms. This dinner plate-sized jellyfish named Solmissus is an active hunter. It swims with its tentacles splayed forward. Like most jellyfish, its tentacles are armed with thousands of remarkable miniaturized harpoons. Each harpoon, called a nematocyst, is stored inside out within an individual cell. When a victim nears, the cell senses chemicals and vibrations from the prey. If the jellyfish is sufficiently hungry, the harpoon is fired. Its sharp point penetrates the prey, and poison is injected, killing or immobilizing the victim, which is soon carried by the tentacle to the jellyfish's central mouth. These animals, called salps, are related to sea squirts and are thus in the same major group of animals, the chordates, that includes dogs, fishes, and, yes, you and me. Salps propel themselves through the open ocean by taking in water through one end and jetting it out the other. A fine mesh of mucus inside the animal filters this water, extracting particles of food. The lead individual can bud off hundreds of others, forming coils the size of bicycle wheels or chains over 6 meters in length. Another of your distant kin, this larvation leads a far more solitary life, holed up in its private home. This gossamer house is actually a double dwelling. The inner sanctum is a fine meshed filter made of mucus. The larvation undulates its flat tail, whipping a current through the filter which traps particles of food. The outer structure, up to 1 meter across, is also a filter, this one serving to exclude material which the creature cannot eat. When this outer structure becomes clogged, the larvation swims away and builds anew. Larvation houses and living jellies are rallying points, sanctuaries in the emptiness of the dark depths. They attract and maintain an array of other organisms, forming oasis communities. The interactions and interdependencies of the jelly communities are only just now being studied. Without doubt, the jellies are an important part of the sea, consuming and locking much of the food into a jelly web, bringing a living structure to the depths and changing the very chemistry of the sea. But the full importance of these organisms has yet to be revealed. Future expeditions will discover new aliens and will help us understand those we have now but seen. There's enough below the surface to drive our quest for a long, long time. And that is wonderful.